Right now, in lecture halls and classrooms all over the world, students are doing the same thing. They are typing as fast as they can, or writing as fast as they can. They are trying to capture every word the professor says before it disappears, forever into the air. And they believe, genuinely believe, that the more they capture, the better their notes will be. More words equals more learning. This feels logical. It feels responsible. It feels like the right way to show up to a lecture. And for the vast majority of students, it is completely wrong. There are really only three ways that students take notes from a lecture. And when you rank them by the science of how memory actually works, something uncomfortable becomes clear very quickly. The method that most students use instinctively, the method you were probably never taught but started doing anyway, is ranked dead last. It is the worst of the three. And the method that almost nobody uses, the one that feels the most awkward and unfamiliar, is ranked first. It is the most powerful by a significant margin. In this video, I'm going to rank all three methods from worst to best, explain exactly why the ranking is what it is using the cognitive science of encoding and retrieval, and show you precisely how to implement the number one method starting at your very next lecture. But before we get to the ranking, I need to correct a fundamental misunderstanding that most students have about what notes are actually for. Ask any student why they take notes, and they will give you some version of the same answer. To have a record of what was covered. To capture the information so they can go back and review it later. To not forget what the professor said. This sounds completely reasonable, but it is built on a flawed premise. It treats notes as a transcript, a written record of the lecture. And if notes are a transcript, then the best note taker is the one who captures the most words with the highest accuracy. The fastest typist or writer wins, but notes are not a transcript. And this misunderstanding is the root cause of why most students walk out of lectures with pages of words that feel completely useless when exam time arrives. Here's what notes actually are. Notes are a thinking tool. Their primary purpose is not to record information. It is to force you to process information during the lecture itself. The note-taking is not preparation for learning. The note-taking is the learning. This is the distinction that changes everything. When you take notes as a transcript, you are deferring the thinking to later. You are saying, I will capture now and understand later. But your brain does not work on a payment plan. Information that is not processed at the moment of encoding is dramatically harder to retrieve later. The forgetting curve hits it almost immediately. By the time you sit down to review your transcript notes, much of the context and meaning that surrounded those words during the lecture has already vanished. When you take notes as a thinking tool, you're forcing your brain to process the information in real time. You're asking, what does this mean? How does it connect to what I already know? What question does this answer? That active processing is encoding. And that encoding is what creates the memory. Keep this distinction in your head as we go through the ranking, because the ranking is entirely determined by how much processing each method forces you to do during the lecture itself. More processing equals higher rank. Less processing equals lower rank. Here is the ranking. Method number 3, the worst. Verbatim transcription. This is the method you are almost certainly using right now. You sit in the lecture and you write or type everything. Every point the professor makes, every example they give, every word on the slide. Your goal is to produce a complete, accurate record. Nothing gets left out. You are a human recording device. The reason this feels right is because it feels safe. You're not making any judgments about what matters and what doesn't. You are not risking missing something important. You're getting it all down, and that feels like control. But here's what is actually happening in your brain while you transcribe verbatim. Nothing. Not nothing, literally, but cognitively almost nothing. Verbatim transcription is one of the most cognitively shallow activities a student can perform. It requires almost no processing of meaning. It is a mechanical task. Your job is to hear a word and reproduce that word on the page or screen as quickly as possible. You are not asked to understand it, evaluate it, connect it, question it, or summarize it. You are asked to copy it. And copying is not learning. In 2014, researchers Pam Mueller and Daniel Oppenheimer published one of the most cited studies in the psychology of education. They compared students who took notes by hand to students who took notes on laptops during lectures. The laptop students took more notes. They captured more words. By the transcript standard, they should have performed better. But they didn't. They performed significantly worse on conceptual questions in tests taken later. The explanation was this. Laptop note-takers were transcribing verbatim. Because they could type fast enough to keep up with the professor, they never had to process what was being said. They just copied it. Handwriters, because they couldn't keep up with the pace of speech, were forced to summarize. They had to listen, understand, and then rephrase in fewer words. That rephrasing required processing, and that processing created memory. This is the verbatim trap. The faster and more complete your transcription, the less your brain is actually learning during the lecture. You are filling the page at the direct cost of filling your memory. And there is a second problem with verbatim notes that most students don't discover until exam week. The notes feel useless. You open 50 pages of dense, word-for-word transcription, and it feels completely foreign. You have no idea what matters. You cannot tell which points are central and which are illustrative. You cannot see the structure beneath the words. Because you never processed the structure during the lecture. You just copied the surface. Verbatim transcription ranked last. Use it never. Method number 2, the middle ground. The Cornell Method. If you have heard of any note-taking method by name, it is probably this one. The Cornell Method was developed in the 1950s at Cornell University, and it has been taught in study skills courses for decades. It works on a simple structural principle. You divide your page into 3 sections. A wide notes column on the right, where you take notes during the lecture. A narrow cue column on the left, where you write keywords or questions after the lecture. And a summary box at the bottom, where you write a 2 or 3 sentence summary of the page's content in your own words. This structure is genuinely better than verbatim transcription, and the reason is that 2 of its 3 sections force some processing. The cue column asks you to look back at your notes and identify the key concept behind each cluster of information. The summary box asks you to compress an entire page of notes into a few sentences, which requires understanding. Compression requires understanding. You cannot summarize what you do not understand. So why is the Cornell method ranked second instead of first? 2 reasons. First, most students who use the Cornell method only actually use one of its 3 sections. They fill the right-hand notes column during the lecture, and they never touch the cue column or the summary box. They use Cornell as a page layout, not as a system. The page looks like Cornell but functions like verbatim transcription. All the processing power of the method is located in the cue column and the summary box, and if those never get filled in, the method offers almost no advantage over simple transcription. Second, even when Cornell is used correctly, the primary notes column is still being filled in during the lecture. And what goes into that column is still largely descriptive and reactive. You're still writing what the professor says in roughly the order they say it. The processing happens after the lecture, not during it. Which means during the lecture itself, the most important cognitive moment, the moment of first exposure to the material, you are still mostly transcribing. Cornell is significantly better than nothing. If you are currently using verbatim transcription, switching to fully implemented Cornell, meaning you actually complete the cue column and the summary box immediately after every lecture, will produce a meaningful improvement in your retention. The post-lecture processing is real and it works, but it is not the best we can do. Cornell method ranked second. Use it if the top method is not yet available to you, but commit to completing all 3 sections. Method number 1, the best. The question-based method. This is the method almost nobody uses spontaneously. It feels strange when you first try it. It feels slower than transcription. It feels less complete. But it is, by the measure of what the science says about encoding and retrieval, the most powerful note-taking method available to you. Here's how it works. Instead of writing down what the professor says, you convert what the professor says into a question as they say it, and then write the answer. That's it. That is the entire method. But the simplicity conceals enormous cognitive machinery. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. Your professor says the mitochondria generates ATP through a process called cellular respiration, which involves 3 key stages: glycolysis, the Krebs cycle, and the electron transport chain. A verbatim note-taker writes, mitochondria generates ATP through cellular respiration, 3 stages: glycolysis, Krebs cycle, electron transport chain. A question-based note-taker writes, what process does the mitochondria use to generate ATP and what are its 3 stages? Then on the line below, cellular respiration. Glycolysis, Krebs cycle, electron transport chain. On the surface, these look almost identical. The same information is captured in both cases. But the cognitive difference between writing them is enormous. The verbatim note-taker performed 1 cognitive act: transcription. Hear the words, reproduce the words. The question-based note-taker performed 5 cognitive acts. They listened to the information. They identified what the core testable concept was. They formulated a question that would test that concept. They constructed the answer. And they evaluated whether the answer was complete. 5 acts of active processing at the moment of first exposure. This is build mode. You are not passively receiving the professor's words. You are actively interrogating them. You are demanding that every piece of information justify its existence by answering a question. What are you telling me? What would I need to know to retrieve this later? What question would an exam ask about this? And here's the second, almost invisible advantage of the question-based method. Your notes are already a retrieval practice system. They are pre-formatted for testing yourself. When you sit down to review Cornell notes, you still have to convert them into questions for active recall. When you sit down to review verbatim notes, the task of turning that dense transcription into testable questions is so daunting that most students simply reread the notes passively instead, which we know from the evidence is essentially useless. But when you sit down to review question-based notes, the retrieval practice system is already built. You cover the answer with your hand. You read the question. You retrieve the answer from memory. You check. You move on. No conversion required. The very act of taking notes has produced a study tool that is already optimized for the highest leverage review method available. Every lecture you attend with the question-based method produces 2 things simultaneously: a processed encoding event during the lecture itself, and a pre-built retrieval practice system for the review sessions that follow. The Cornell method, used correctly, produces one of those things. Verbatim transcription produces neither. Now I need to address the practical objection. Because everyone has it the first time they hear about this method. How do I convert things into questions fast, enough to keep up with the lecture? The answer is that you get faster with practice. But more importantly, you're not trying to convert every single word into a question. You are identifying the testable core of what the professor is saying and writing a question about that. You are filtering. You are deciding what matters. And that filtering process is itself an act of high leverage processing. It forces you to listen more carefully to distinguish the core claim from the illustrative example. It forces you to understand the structure of what is being said. It forces you to think like an examiner, which is the most useful mental position a student can occupy during a lecture. There will be moments in every lecture where the professor gives a long example, or tells an anecdote, or goes on a tangent. During those moments, you do not need to convert anything into a question. You listen, you process, you wait for the next core claim. The question-based method naturally filters out the padding and captures the skeleton, which is exactly what your exam will test. There is one more practical point. Use a physical notebook for question-based notes, not a laptop. Not because typing is bad in general, but because the speed of typing makes transcription too easy. When you handwrite, the friction of slower writing forces you to be selective. It forces compression. It pushes you into the question-based mindset naturally. A laptop invites verbatim transcription. A pen invites thinking. So here is the summary. Method 3, verbatim transcription. The most common, the lowest processing, the worst retention. Use it never. Method 2, the Cornell Method. Structured and useful, but only when all 3 sections are completed. Processing happens after the lecture. Use it if you are transitioning away from verbatim and building toward the question-based method. Method 1, the question-based method. The highest processing, the deepest encoding, the built-in retrieval practice system. Use it at every lecture for every subject starting at your next class. You have attended hundreds of lectures, and for most of them, you probably left with a dense transcript that you never fully understood, reviewing it passively and hoping the information would somehow stick. It didn't stick because the method was wrong, not because you weren't smart enough, not because the subject was too hard. The tool was wrong. At your next lecture, take out a physical notebook, and for every core claim your professor makes, write one question and write one answer. That is the entire instruction. One question, one answer. Repeat for 60 minutes. Your notes will be shorter than what you're used to. They will feel incomplete. But when you open them before the exam, you will have something that no amount of transcription could produce, a set of questions you can actually test yourself with, a map of exactly what your exam will ask, and a brain that has already processed the material once at the moment it first heard it. Notes are not a transcript. Notes are a thinking tool. Build something worth thinking with. If this changed how you will sit in your next lecture, subscribe because every video on this channel gives you a precision tool to replace a blunt one. I will see you in the next one.